You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in Northport, Florida. I have Joan from the care unit down in Port Charlotte, and it is a very, very special month. As you can see, the screen is purple. We've got the backdrop. I actually I, I wish we didn't have to have this month. Don't you?
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
wish we did
it's
not have to have this
Domestic
month.
Violence Month, and everybody wears a color. We hang out at Harley Davidson. They've got orange and black, and they wear their colors with pride. The Buckeye Group meets there. We wear our scarlet and gray with pride. The motorcycle gangs, they all wear their colors with pride. There's something to be said about wearing purple this month with pride to support the awareness side of things too, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's important to point that out, because there's no shame in wearing purple this month to say, you know what? Let's all band together and let's try to, I think, crush the domestic violence side of things a little bit, kind of damper it down. But awareness is the educational side of it. As in everything that we always talk about, it isn't that a real key to getting information out and having success?
Yes. We need to begin the conversation. Well, not begin, continue the conversation about domestic violence. And so there are many myths, and we're going to talk about those today, about and beliefs about domestic violence and why it happens and who is responsible for it. But domestic violence is actually, it is a crime. So if a man batters another man because they got in a fight, that's a crime. He would be arrested. If a man batters a woman, say if they're out at a park and he batters a woman, that's a crime. It's also a crime when a man batters his wife or his intimate partner, or his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. Just because they're in an intimate relationship does not give him the right to abuse her or have power and control over her. She is an equal. She has equal rights in the United States to live a free and violent-free life. And so a great deal of domestic violence awareness is being in that conversation and talking about it and talking about the myths and holding people accountable for their behavior and not making excuses for the abuse in family relationships.
Absolutely. And I'm going to pull those myths up here in 1 second. And I really want you to kind of highlight a little bit about the website. First, give the keys out to people who need to have the information on contacting you guys. I think we're going to do this 2 or 3 times during this show, but go ahead and give the contact information and then tell the value of utilizing those numbers, and then we'll get into the myths.
Okay, so let's just start off with what is CARE. CARE is the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies for Charlotte County, and we provide care and support for both domestic violence and victims of sexual assault. So we're actually a dual center. We're domestic violence awareness and care center and a sexual victims advocacy and care center. So we're certified centers in Florida. And so this month, we're really focusing on domestic violence and how to create awareness about it. What does it look like? What are the myths? And how this is happening. And how we can stop it from happening in our communities. So we have lots of services, both for domestic violence persons and their families. So domestic violence doesn't just affect their families, it affects everyone. If you are aware or think that there might be some domestic violence in your family or with friends or a best friend, please feel free to call us. We're for both the victim and the friends of the victim. So our hotline phone number is 627-6000. Our helpline phone number for sexual victims is 941-637-0404. And those are the two numbers that you can call, and we are answered 24/7. There is also a text line. So if you want to text us, 941-499-8534. Sorry, I couldn't remember exactly the number. 941-499-8534 if you would like to text us. And the numbers of phone numbers are also written across the bottom. We have an Inglewood office, 941-475-6465. So those are our phone numbers. So we offer services for victims and family and friends of victims, or anyone that's experiencing that trauma. It could be an employer or an employee because their colleague is experiencing it and it shows up at work. Actually, many women miss work because of sexual assault. Because of domestic violence. And so they're absent from work, end up losing their jobs because of it. So we offer services. Our services are 24/7 phone line and text line. We are also provide a one-on-one services. Like you can call us and have like a counseling. You can come in for conversation, talking about it. We offer support groups for domestic violence. We're a shelter. And we would love to come out to your organization, whether it's a school or a club, and talk, or a church, any community activity, and talk to you about domestic violence and how we can put a stop to it in our community and make our world a safer and more equal place.
So I've got the myths up here, and this is not as fancy as the one that you sent me, but this was the printable style that you sent me the link to. So it is the same content. Just so you know, I did pull that up and kind of highlight it and push it out a little bigger. So it is really legible. And I'm going to let you go ahead and read the first myth and then talk about the fact side of it.
Okay, so let me just looking for that particular sheet that I have on it. So first of all, I'll just read from yours because it's just as easy.
Sure.
First of all, go back. There you go.
I am back.
Domestic violence. A lot of people think that domestic violence only happens in poor or low income or uneducated families. In fact, that is not true at all. Domestic violence happens in all families. Does not matter whether you're rich or poor, whether you live on the farm, in the country, downtown, inner city, urban. It doesn't matter what your race is or your religion or your age. Domestic violence cuts through all isms. Men experience domestic violence as well as women. So it can happen to anyone. And that's a really important fact. It's happening in all types of families. So it's very important that we don't think, oh, well, they can't be having domestic violence because he's a doctor or he's a pastor. That happens very prominently in all kinds of fields because domestic violence is about power and control. It's about one person trying to have and maintain power and control over another person.
And I'm glad you brought that up because we did talk about that last month going into this month because we knew we were going to hit this mid-month. But, it doesn't matter what month it is. Awareness is awareness. And some of the things that we talk about, they do have a lot of crossover when it comes down to it. So there's the one thing I want to remind people is that when we're talking about different they feel like different organizations, but CARE's under one big umbrella. You've got human trafficking, you've got sexual harassment, and all those types of things all under one umbrella. and you've got domestic violence that's in there too. But the numbers are all the same. That they're reaching out. Even the income side of things, there's no real discrepancy there, is there?
No, no. You will see it in rich families, poor families, middle class families, well educated families, low educated families. It happens all across the board.
Absolutely.
And it is directly related to one person wanting to have power and control over another being, whether it's sexually, financially, emotionally, religiously, and physically.
Yep. And the next one, the alcohol and drugs cause domestic violence. We've kind of gone into this.
Well, let's restate that. That's the myth.
That's the myth.
That's the myth.
I agree.
Violence is domestic violence. Alcohol and drug abuse does not cause domestic violence.
Correct.
It is not uncommon to see an abuser that is using alcohol and drugs and is an alcoholic or drug addict. But
just like theft while drinking or doing drugs is still theft.
Still theft. Right. Violence against women is still violence against women, whether you're drunk or sober, using or
men even.
Exactly. It's both ways.
So talk a little bit about, can you talk a little bit about the alcohol and the drug side of things? We're talking about not being able to use it as an excuse, but we're kind of in this time period now where we've had some big changes within our infrastructure as far as the drugs that are on the streets and also the drugs that are available now that 10, 15 years ago were illegal and now they're legalized. So have you guys seen any direct connection with some of the street drugs that were available illegally before that are now legal now? And have you seen numbers spike at all with that?
No, I understand what you're saying. So yes and no. So what I'd like to say is that what we're seeing directly related to drug and alcohol abuse is that, and so this is what I'm seeing, especially because we do work with healthy and unhealthy, helping addicts in recovery groups identify healthy and unhealthy relationships. And in these conversations, we're finding out that many children are being given drugs and alcohol at very, very young ages. So in a recent group, when I asked the question, when did you start using? We were astounded to find out 5, 6, and 7 years old is the first time they were given alcohol. And it was given to them because the parents were using and they wanted to subdue or quiet the child. So the child started using it. They were giving it to the child. Another phenomenon that we're seeing, because this is really talking about drug and alcohol abuse now, is that we're seeing that these kids are playing sports at very young ages and playing not, baseball in the backyard or kickball or, touch football. They're playing heavily controlled, with referees, very competitive sports at very young ages that are becoming very demanding. They're practicing all the time and they're being injured. So they're children that are really receiving or incurring adult injuries at young ages that are sports related. And so they're having surgery. They're being put on medication for pain. Play through the pain, right? How many high schooler kids? I mean, I had kids in football, hockey, baseball. My sons all played and play through the pain. I know all about medical injuries related to sports injuries because they're pushing so hard for them to be pros when they're kids and their bodies haven't even developed yet well enough to play at that level, and they're being injured as a result. So they're getting addicted at very young ages. So they start off being prescribed medications, and then they like the feeling they get. And then they've got to find it when the prescription runs out or the doctor doesn't renew the re-prescribe. So then they get it on the streets.
Right.
But it's starting at very, very young ages for a variety of reasons. And so the other issue is trauma. So we're seeing childhood trauma. I was just working with clients that were sexually assaulted at the age of 3 and 4 years old, and sexually assaulted by their parent, father, until they were 17 or 18 years old. So this is a pedophile. The father's a pedophile. So they're experiencing trauma. How do I overcome this horrific trauma when nobody believes me that I have been sexually assaulted or I am witnessing domestic violence? So
Right.
I'm witnessing domestic violence. I'm being beaten maybe by my parent. Then I go after drug and alcohol to relieve the pain, to escape myself from the trauma of pain. So witnessing, that's another thing, that 30% of children, male children that witness domestic violence become abusers. That's a significant amount.
Yeah, that, you know, so I want to go back 30 years. And I don't know that
It
you
was
know that.
bad then. It wasn't better.
I know that. But it wasn't talked about back then.
No, it was not. It was hidden, actually.
So
So-
there is a good reason to talk about the was and the now, and because the history of where this conversation didn't start and where it is today is at least now coming to the forefront, and the color purple, that needs to be pushed out there even more, like with businesses drawing in awareness, different organizations in our communities needing to step up. Are you as an organization, are you pushing, and I want to say like the color codes of these specialty months? I know you do it on your website, but how are you getting this information out to the community and trying to educate them on the fly each month with what you guys have to do?
Okay, good question. So we have an outreach person. Her name's Laura Kime. She's wonderful. So she does a lot of outreach. And we also have someone that's handling our social media. So outreach, Laura's going out into the business, handing out information about us. We have given out, I don't know how many 100 purple light bulbs. So if you have a purple light bulb, I'm going to put it in the bulb of my, the big white bulb in the front of my house. I'm going to turn that purple. It's purple for the month. So the people go, oh, why'd you put purple? Like, because it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We're asking businesses, as we reached out through the Chamber of Commerce and different organizations that we all belong to wear purple. So if you want to wear purple and take a picture of your people at your job or at your business, take a picture of everybody wearing purple that day and send it to us on our email or through our website. We will post it, and we want to post as many people wearing, businesses especially, or people wearing purple. So you and your wife can put purple on and take a picture of yourself and saying, hey, we support you. We want to end domestic violence. Let's talk about it. I have a whole volunteer team, and their job is to go out and talk to everyone they can about domestic violence.
And can you talk about the partnerships that you have within the community and how this information kind of resonates with them?
Well, I want to give a little shout out to CARE, Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. The Chamber of Commerce named CARE the nonprofit business of the year. So we just found that out. What a wonderful thing. We are trying very hard to connect, to be visible in our community. So just a quick little place where I want to give Like we partner with Loveland. So I go to Loveland. It's one of my favorite groups. If Loveland hears me, I love you. You're all so wonderful. You bring joy to my life. We go out and we talk about abusive relationships, safe and healthy and unhealthy relationships with them, to help vulnerable adults with disabilities to be safe, so that they're not abused by an intimate partner or a family member. We also go to Friendship Senior Center, and again, shout out to Friendship Senior Center. We love them, and we go in and we talk with them, particularly women, because 3/4, so this is a statistic, 3/4 of all elder women, I don't know what elder woman is, I'm not giving an age there, because I'm not elder, right?
No.
Elder women are abused by their partners, their spouses. So 3/4 of all elder women it's domestic violence, are abused by their partners. So we think, oh, well, they're older, goes away, it's only young people. No, they've been abused their whole life. And sometimes they try and escape there at the end, and it doesn't happen. So elder abuse, particularly older women in marital relationships, are 3/4 of the abuses from that. We also go to Florida Southwestern, the college, to go talk to college students. We go to different businesses, and you're going to see purple lights around the city, I hope. You're going to see purple out there with all these different organizations that are supporting us in the ways that they can do it. By having flyers in their bathroom. So, if you go to the downtown Kava Bar, I just know, I've been in there recently, and they have our brochure with all of our services right there next to their checkout counter. You'll go in bathrooms and you're going to see all the different organizations that have tearaways, so women can call us.
So I want to stop you there for a second, because we talked about alcohol, and we kind of talked about not having an excuse with alcohol. And at the Kava Bar, it's kind of a combination of a couple things there, but that partnership is essential.
Yes.
And it's there is a true value when an organization steps up and says, yes, I'll hang this information, and we're going to confront this head on, because we know as an organization, we are, and I don't want to say putting people in harm's way, because they're not trying to do that. If they're participating with things like this, they're actually trying to draw awareness and say, keep your faculties about you, and don't over drink, don't over consume, and really watch yourself, and or at least be with a group that is watching out for you. Can you kind of talk about how you guys work with organizations to promote that? Because I think that's that. And just listening to the first part of this, we were talking about alcohol, and we were kind of taking that approach. You can't use that as an excuse. And now we've partnered with the Kava Bar, which is, by the way, fantastic. I've been down and listened to open mic and
I have too.
But a really cool vibe, a really cool place to go sit down, enjoy people. But it's that environment that you could get caught off guard really quick if you're having too many and you're by yourself.
Yes.
And I think there's some importance to talk about that, men or male or female, at that point, because you're more susceptible when your faculties are not 100%, right?
That is correct. And it's not, we cannot blame the woman, for if she has had a few drinks, it does not give you permission to rape her or abuse her.
Right.
It does not give you permission. So it's don't rape. It's not women don't get raped. It's men don't rape.
Right.
Or women don't rape. But it's, don't rape. It's against the law. It's a crime. Don't hit, don't abuse. It's against the law. It's a crime. And it's really important that we recognize that because somebody is vulnerable. As a community, we need to notice that. And you love music, and the first time I heard this song, I was appalled. And I don't remember who wrote it. You might know. It's called "Take a Drunk Girl Home," and I was like appalled by this. But it's really about, the song is about telling men, step up and protect the girl that might have gotten drunk and making sure she gets home safely. That's what the song is about. Get a girl home safely so that somebody doesn't hurt her, and maintain her respect for herself. Like, help her if she went out and had too many to drink. And that's what the song is about. Take a drunk girl home. Don't let her become a victim.
Oh, and that's
for good men and young men and men to step up to the plate and create a safe space for her.
So that's the flip side of where we're going with this whole thing, though, because alcohol, while alcohol and the drug side of things, because we have to talk about that, because the Kava Bar has a combination there.
No, actually, the Kava Bar has no alcohol.
Oh, it's Kava Root and
yeah, Kava Culture is also the same. They're all sober bars.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. There is, though, they do have alcohol available through seltzers.
No, it's none of it's alcohol.
They did. I thought that
they are seltzers. They have put it in a seltzer, but that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, okay. So, well, it's good for me to know, because
again, I bring this up because alcohol is often involved. You'll see an abuser out on a date with his girlfriend, and he's telling her to shut up or calling her names. And that's when we as a community need to step up, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and say, hey, I got purple on, right? I'm wearing purple, and this is wrong. You cannot talk to your girlfriend like that. And so you need to be in stand for that.
I'm going to give you a quick story because this just happened. I was up in Ohio, and I had taken my granddaughters to a park, and an older guy was there, probably my age. I say older. I can say that because right? I'm in that bracket. But he was running around. I didn't know that he was with someone else. I watched him doing the jungle gym, running all over the place, going up and down slides. And I really didn't see him interacting with just like a grandson or granddaughter or anything like that. It was just like he was 10 years old out there playing on the playground. So, I've done enough of these shows with you that my radar went up, and I said,
danger.
I'm just going to watch, because this is, and a lot of the parents had that blank expression on their face because it was not normal. Okay. So I moved, I repositioned, and so I could watch my granddaughters better and watch where he was and what was going on. And then he went over and stood next to a woman, and I watched, and I'm literally sitting probably 20 feet from him. And every time he got close, she took a step away. And I'm like, holy crap. And then he did it again, and he did it again. Then he came over, saw somebody in the park that he knew, another woman, and he went over and he laid his head on her lap and was talking to her. And so all of these things that were abnormal just to a T, okay? I got up out of my seat, and I just kind of slid over quietly, and I just walked up to her, and I said, I do a radio show in Florida, and I don't mean any disrespect or any harm, but are you okay? Was that gentleman, are you okay with him? And she turned around and she said, I appreciate you asking, but he's my husband. And I just went, 3 times after that, she thanked me for being brave enough to have witnessed it, watched it, and brought it to her attention, and thanked me because I was paying attention. That's what you're talking about, though. Having the
Yes.
nerve to be able to go up and talk to somebody, having the nerve to be able to watch something happening in our communities. And we all must be good stewards of our communities. We all must be good stewards when we go out. If you see something happening, you need to remember detail. You need to, I can literally remember detail of what he did, what he touched, where he ran to. I still can play it back, even though husband and wife they were. Because even at that point, do you really know? You don't.
You don't,
So
but you are, and you don't know, and you initiated a
yeah,
conversation.
I did.
Are you
And
safe?
I did. That was I really asked her kind of point blank, are you okay? Because I want to make sure you're good, because if you're not, I'll handle it, and I would have. And I like the fact that I like the fact that we're talking about the kava bar and the alcohol side of things, because I think that as a society, we've tended to stop paying attention when we're in an environment. We stop paying attention when we're in even new environments because we think we've heard it's safe. Those are the moments that the safe zones are no longer safe, is when you stop paying attention. And when you said step up and pay attention, step up and do the right thing, that goes a long way back into the fact that just because you have alcohol on board doesn't mean you can't do the right thing. And just because she has too much alcohol or he has too much alcohol on board doesn't give you the permission, because they can't say no or they won't say no, to not understand there is the right thing and the wrong thing to do. If you want to sleep with her, wait another night. If she's willing to sleep with you that night, or he's willing to sleep with you that night, it's 24 hours, maybe 12, but it isn't worth a risk of she didn't say no, but I took advantage,
Yeah,
because taking
consent.
advantage of anyone is not the right thing to do.
That is correct. So we talk a lot, and we get those conversations. Interesting. We'll get someone, a woman and men, but primarily women, that call in and say, "This happened to me, and I don't remember. I didn't give consent. I didn't really want to, and I didn't fight back." And a lot of times, people don't fight back because they could end up dead, right?
Right.
If they do fight back. So, and that happens also in domestic violence. In domestic violence, you know, you cannot, trying to figure out what is the right thing to do in that moment, right? And giving consent, or and when you were just talking about that, is sexual victims, is because I didn't resist does not make it consent. So asking for consent is important, and that's why we have sexual victim services. So we can talk. We take those phone calls. Was this consent, or what could I have done, or I was raped, and what should I do, and I didn't give consent. And so having that dialogue. So we offer those services. You can either come in and have a one-on-one meeting with us. We have support groups. We do the phone calls. We have a shelter available. We help people find resources. Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm going to put this up here because I can't play it, but you can read it.
Oh, I don't want to read it because I don't want to read it, but it's a great song.
It is,
because
but
we don't know what happened, that she ended up there. Maybe she didn't eat, but the idea of taking this girl home is
well,
don't,
this part right here, take a girl home, let her sleep alone. Think
yes,
about that for a minute. These
yeah,
are everything we're just talking about.
yeah,
Leave her keys on the counter, your number by the phone. Everything I just said
yeah,
is right here in writing.
yeah,
Um, and so take a drunk girl home. I had to look it up because I do know the song, but I really didn't pay
yeah.
attention to
Never
the
paid
song.
attention, right?
Correct.
Pick up her life, because something happened, right? Leave
Yep.
the hall lights on, walk out and lock the door, keep her safe. And that's how she knows the difference between a boy and a man,
Right.
because a boy would harm her, but a true man, and this is, again, this goes to what does it mean to be a man? And having this conversation about manhood. Manhood is not being the lone ranger that hits and hurts. The image of the Dirty Harry, and that's again my opinion. But being the protector and caregiver and providing safe space for vulnerable people. So this particular story is about a girl that's vulnerable,
Well,
and maybe
and
going to take advantage of her.
the
What?
truth of the matter is when you go back and you just said what you said, being a true man, being a real man, these conversations are not really in our traditional day now. Not it used to be, but these conversations are not in there anymore. That's why this is important to have a month like this to get this information out,
Yeah,
to
to get out
engage,
there.
because the gosh, we talk about social media on so many different levels. Um, there's there's so many games. There's so many social media attacks. There's just a different. It's just a different field than 30 years ago, which is great because 30 years ago we weren't even talking about it. And anytime something like this happened, the neighbor down the street knew the police officer down the street who knew the attorney, and it was all quiet. So it never got out. So that was just hidden, beat down because we don't want to ruin our neighborhood. Ironically, it beats your neighborhood up, on no pun intended with words, to have hidden truths within that neighborhood because safety factors for anyone walking down the street are now triple what they used to be. And we need good people to start stepping up and realizing their position now is of value. Their position is paying attention for others, male, female, child, little kid, infants, doesn't really matter. Your job as a citizen of any community is truly to step up with the intent, safety first. And if we had more people who actually did that, do you think that some of this, and I'm not going to say that's the cure all because we know it's truly not, because a lot of this happens behind closed doors. But if we're paying attention to detail, we're paying attention to actions, we're paying attention to people at the playground,
Mhm.
may not have a connection, but if we're willing to step in and step up, can we change a lot of it?
Well, yeah, and again, if you go back to our myths about domestic violence, one of the
Going to,
myths
for
is
sure.
what happens, domestic violence is a private matter and it happens, um, whatever happens in a man's, again, that's the belief, right?
Yep.
Changing our beliefs, questioning the belief system that for many, many years, and in some cultures currently, a woman is the possession of a man, either her father or her husband. So women were considered property. And once we stopped believing that women were property and that we're equal members of society and had equal rights, so women have equal rights, um, then this belief system has to change. That it was believed that a man could abuse her wife because she was property. The same with children.
Yep.
Children were the property of the head of the household. The head of the household is a man, right? And that was the belief system. And so often, if women did present with domestic violence or was speaking up against it, they would say she was lying. And
So
they would actually institutionalize her. So we have a lot of old belief systems in place, and that men believe that their women have to obey in order to demonstrate, for them to feel respected. And so again, respect is not earned by beating and battering and threatening or abusing someone. Respect is earned because you're kind and you're compassionate and you provide safety and care for another being.
We've got about 13 minutes left, and we kind of went off on a tangent, but I think with good detail for what's happening in the world today and how we should be stepping up our game, not just by ourselves, but encouraging others to do that. And in doing that, we're also going to talk about this next myth, which is abusers and or victims have low self-esteem. True or false?
Of course, that's false. Abusers do not have low self-esteem. That's, again, making an excuse. Oh, he has low self-esteem, or he can't handle stress, therefore he hit his wife, or he won't let her go out, or she has to be with him all the time, or he's going to kill himself if I leave him. That is not what abusers do. Abusers use emotional abuse. They name call, and their whole goal, of course, is to diminish and negate and gaslight their victims. So an abuser is looking for a victim. They are looking for somebody. Usually it's somebody that's very kind and giving and caring, right? That will give them that, and they will love bomb them. They will provide them with all kinds of love and security, and so that the victim will become connected and believe in them. They can pretend to have low self-esteem to make others feel sorry for them, and then they therefore make the victim the perpetrator.
Well, in that same category that we're in, this only happens once or twice in a relationship, right?
Right. No. Domestic violence starts often very subtly. The old saying about putting a frog in a pot of cold water and then you turn up the heat. That's often what happens. It starts out with, I don't like what you're wearing. I don't like your friends. I miss you. Stay home with me. Watching where they go all the time, using technology to stalk them and keep track of them. And then it ends up with physical abuse. It can end up with physical abuse. And so that's kind of what that's alluding to, is that, oh, I'm only going to hit you once. I'll never do it again. But they do. And often, so it's not, we talking about the cycle. Instead of it being a cycle, it's a spiral, because it gets worse and worse and worse over time.
Yeah, but some people out there, they like to be beaten, don't they?
Oh, again, no. Again,
don't you love how I'm just getting in there and doing it?
The myth is some people believe that they ask for it, they deserve it, and they choose abusers. And that's not true. No one deserves to be abused. No one wants to be abused. Sometimes they've grown up with abuse, and so they don't understand that they have the right not to be abused. And sometimes it's because of a pattern of abuse, and we often blame. So what they do is they blame the victim. Well, it's your fault. You're the reason he abused. And so the victim begins to believe them. And abusers can be extremely charming. They will offer you the moon. They will tell you, this is a soulmate relationship. We were meant for each other. We can never separate. I can't live without you. And then it becomes terrorism.
Well, any domestic violence, I think I'm going to put the law up at the end, and we watch violence on TV, we watch violence in games, and then people think it's okay, uh, and it's not the norm. There are standards. We've got things that happen every day that if as a society, if we start stepping in and stepping up, and I do mean that, stepping in and stepping up, because in order to prevent some of these things, you have to step in and step up. Uh, you know, our next generation is gearing up for less social, and I mean this, less social activity, more gaming, more head down, more walking through life with AI that's coming. You're just talking about a complete disconnect from what we all grew up and in a time frame I'm not going to say was perfect at all by any stretch of the imagination, but the distractions going into the next 20 years of the youth's lives now, with all of this uh, creativity on the cell phones and the gaming and all of the other distractions that are now going to be in play. There's some real child um, situations at home, and I'm going right into the next myth, but uh, children aren't even aware of violence in their home, are they?
Children are always aware of violence. It is not something they're oblivious to. They may not talk about it, but they know it intuitively because they feel anxiety. So we have so many children that are growing up with anxiety and problems with anxiety because they are witnessing so much violence. They're witnessing in the gaming, right? That gaming
Yep.
where they're witnessing acts of violence, and the acts of violence don't lead to the reality of what violence does because they just pop right back up and get another life. But children are witnessing a great deal of violence, and it is causing a tremendous amount of anxiety. And then they see this world full of violent actions and hateful words. And a good parent needs to step in and have a conversation about what they're seeing and what's happening and making it stop. So studies have shown that 30% of all, I said this earlier, 30% of all male children that witness abuse become abusers. Now, that means it's not necessarily a learned behavior, it's more of a belief system. 70% do not become abusers. So the question is, in an adult and a child's mind is, I would never want to be abused, so I will therefore never abuse. That would be 70%. I was abused, therefore I want to have power and control like the abuser had over me, and I'm going to become an abuser.
And
So it's
I'm
a
going to use
belief system as much as a behavior.
sure. I'm going to use an example because of the trauma background that I have. Um, there are a lot of people that when they see the effects of trauma, and trauma can be abuse by on a large scale. Trauma could be compared to a car wreck at
Yes.
any moment, because a train wreck and a car wreck and domestic violence, they're a lot of times they're at the same level of harm to the individual. And that saying, "Hey, you're a real train wreck." Well, that's a true statement. A lot of times in the domestic violence arena, when somebody goes off the rails, just another term that we throw out there every once in a while. Um, that's really not putting yourself in the best possible scenario not to cause someone harm. And if you see someone going off the rails, or you're calling them a train wreck, you might not want to hang out with that person that night. You may want to get away. Those are the signs that we all should be looking at too, as individuals. But I want to go back real quick, and we've only got about 4 minutes. The domestic violence side it's a crime, right?
That is
So
correct.
talk about the domestic violence side of it and being a crime, and kind of hit these facts here real quick.
Okay, so domestic violence is a crime. And the laws changed in the mid 1980s, and they changed slowly from one state to another. That if the law says that police shall arrest a person who they have reason to believe has abused another person. Domestic violence may lead to murder. 3/4 of all women are murdered by their husbands, ex-husbands, or partners. The most dangerous time in a woman's life is the right before and after they leave their abuser. Most women have a hard time leaving the abuser because of the threats against their life and their children's life and their family and friends. So it's not just the woman that's being abused or threatened, it's entire family systems. And then domestic violence costs the U.S. economy an estimated $3 to $5 billion annually in job absenteeism. So women's jobs are often affected by domestic violence. So if she's battered, she can't go to work. It's pretty hard for her to go to work. Sometimes the abuser will show up at work, creating a place,
Whole nother level.
a domestic violence at work, and then the woman gets fired or terminated. Solve the problem. They tell the woman, solve the problem. I just want to give one last thing.
I thought I'd throw this up though, and then finish up. You got 2 minutes. Read the Florida law.
So Florida law legally defines domestic violence as assault, aggravated assault. Assault means to threaten somebody harm.
Right.
I just want to make sure people understand that is to threaten harm. Battery, it's aggravated battery, sexual assault, sexual battery, stalking, aggravated stalking, and kidnapping, false imprisonment, and or criminal offense resulting in physical injury or death of one family or household member by another. So it's there's
a broad range right there.
Yes, because it often starts small, like a small words of emotional abuse, financial abuse. If a partner is controlling all the money and not allowing the woman to have a job or keep a job, she cannot leave. And that's a big reason why women don't leave, is because of finances. And especially in this county, in the counties where we have difficulty with housing or affordable housing, women can't even find a place to go live and get an apartment. They don't have first and last month's rent. They may not have worked for a long time and didn't have job history or skills. They've been so isolated, and their esteem is so low because of assault and battery and the threats.
One could say that this one law is practically 9 violations, or 9 or 10 violations, all wrapped up into one bad decision.
It's not a decision.
Or multiple.
It's a belief system.
It is.
I agree. This person, domestic violence is about power and control, and the belief that I have more power or should have more power than you. So it's about power and control. It is not about love. And it is often tied to the belief system, the sexism, racism, and all of those. I just wanted to make out one more shout out. I don't know if you can read this, but Amanda Price will be speaking at our luncheon, which is October 17th. It's at the Punta Gorda. I don't have my glasses on. Oh, I can't read because I lost my light. Call CARE's phone number, and Amanda Price is the Chief Executive Officer of the Florida Partnership to End Domestic Violence. And so this is it's a $20 or more donation to attend this lovely luncheon on October 17th from 11 to 1. So please to attend and listen and wear purple and send your pictures of purple from your businesses. Like we connect with a lot of business. I didn't really name as many. But again, we are there for the victims. Call us, 24/7 hotline, texting. We have counseling either by phone, come in person, support groups. We have shelters, but limited capacity. And every county, just about every county, is covered by a domestic violence center. Sarasota is Spark, and Lee County is ACT. We are CARE, Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. We are there for you. Please call us.
Awesome.
Connect with us. Let us help you save your life.
One more time with all the phone numbers.
Okay. Our hotline is 941-627-6000. Our sexual assault line is 941-637-0404. Our Inglewood line is 941-475-6465. And I think I covered them all.
Nice. Well, great job. I appreciate it. This is John Rawlings with CARE and Joan saying thanks for watching. Please share the video. The more it gets shared, the more likes we get, the more the information gets out into the appropriate hands. And sometimes it's just that quiet person who needs the information the most. So if you can share this information with anyone, get their mind thinking about domestic violence, about the stalking side of it, the kidnapping side of it, the false imprisonment, just any physical injury or anything that you see, get this information to them, because there's a lot of help at CARE and a lot of guidance that if you even call and say, I need some advice on how to approach someone, you can get that from CARE. Is that correct, Joan?
Well, we try not to advise people. We like to help them explore their options so they are empowered to make their own decisions.
Right. But I'm talking about a family member or a friend who knows of something, how to deal with that interaction calmly so that they can give them the power to make that decision, versus the other side of it, which a lot of family members want to put pressure on. That almost drives it back the other direction, doesn't it?
That is correct. So we want to make sure that we empower them to make decisions. And remember, it can take as many as 9 times for them to attempt to leave a relationship. So exiting a relationship sometimes takes a long time of preparation. And we do a lot of safety planning to help women stay safe and keep their children safe. So it's not a quick fix solution. It takes time, it takes planning, and we need to create safe environments for them. And we need our community to be a stand for those people. Awesome. So go to carefl.org and like us on Facebook, and check out all of our social media and all of our information on our website too. Thank you.
This is John Rawlings saying thanks. Have a good day. CARE, keep doing a great job. And we'll talk to you soon. Check out their website for anything that's upcoming. And I promise you, I've been to some of their events. Go to them. They're amazing. You'll learn a lot, and you'll appreciate everything that they do for our community, making our community safe and wrapping their arms around those who need it. So thank you so much for your time. And hopefully you'll be on next month too. But we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.